You're listening to the StudioPTBO podcast, where we talk all things marketing to help you build and grow your business online. Welcome to the latest episode. Well, welcome to the StudioPTBO podcast. We are back, and we're back at it again with another guest, another StudioPTBO podcast remote version. I did a podcast earlier today with somebody from The Score, and we have Connor Massimo on the podcast once again. He was on the podcast not too long ago, so this is great to have him back on the podcast, specifically because of the pivot. We're going to talk about that and just what's going on in the world, uncertain economic times. So it's very interesting. And Neil, how you doing though? Everything good over there?
Good, brother. Yeah. We're holding it down, and we're taping a lot of podcasts, as you said, and churning out. The quality of the content from a audio standpoint is different, but the quality of the guests and just how deep we're going and how micro we're going in the weeds here of this is real life shit happening right now. And we're just all trying to deal with it in real time, business wise, marketing wise, health wise. There's so many range of emotions we're all going through. And Connor, we've had Connor on the show before, but man, that was a whole different world then.
Yeah.
And now it's the new world. It's just like, how are we going to all function and sort of survive in this new world, it'll never be normal again. It'll become a new normal, but it will never be the way it was. This is really serious stuff we're going through. So Connor, kudos to you. Thank you for coming on again. And so Connor, for those who didn't catch the first episode, Connor is actually been a client of ours for years on and off, but also my physiotherapist. So he changed my view on health, and his tagline is sort of movement for life. And that sort of changed. I've had chronic back problems forever, and Connor, he basically saved me. For now I can move again and not be in pain, and sit again and not be in pain. And it flares up once in a while, but it's 100 million times better than it was, because he said you got to be proactive about it. You got to be aggressive about it. You got to hit it. And he taught me exercises. And it's funny, Connor, I literally like a half an hour ago, I realized I'm on with Connor today, and I got down and did my exercises. I felt like Big Brother was watching me over there. But
yes, absolutely.
But welcome to the show, Connor. So tell us where Pulse Physio was a few weeks ago and how you pivoted so quickly online, or like to telehealth version. Walk us through that. Go deep with it.
So we're a physio clinic, as Neil said. I'm one of the owners with my business partner, Adam. We're in Peterborough, Ontario, and we've got a decently good-sized staff that we've built up over the past 5 years. Our staff is 16 people now. 2 weeks ago, it was just business as usual. We'd kind of heard a little bit about COVID-19, figured it may affect us in some respect, but not obviously didn't envision how much it would affect our business. And then I guess feels like about 3 months ago, but I guess it's been about 10 days since we made the decision to kind of pull the trigger on shutting down the physical brick and mortar business. That came out a few days kind of before we quote unquote, we had to, but at that point we just felt like it was the right thing to do. So we made that decision Sunday night, like a week and a half ago. So I guess this would be business day 8, because we're closed on weekends, that we've been closed. And unfortunately, it probably extend quite a bit longer. We don't know how long right now, but the government has said it will be at least 2 more weeks. And I'm envisioning, several more weeks after that, if we're being honest. So this is a scary and uncertain time for sure, as you mentioned. So we're just trying to be as proactive and kind of work as hard as we can right now to make some changes with the business, to try to make sure we have a business to come back to, and that it's a quicker bounce back than maybe it would be if we weren't putting in all this effort right now. So in terms of telehealth, just a brief dive into that. Essentially, we've pivoted into providing physiotherapy evaluations, assessments, and giving exercise advice and overall education just to online interactions, just like we're doing right now using Zoom. So there's a version of Zoom called Zoom Health, which is a much more expensive version, but everything's encrypted. So the conversation can't be intercepted. So we're using Zoom Health for that. And the idea is we have 45-minute appointments set up with people, which is a little bit longer than usual, because we are envisioning that people will use it less frequently. So we'll want to cover more in an individual appointment. And that's kind of what we've been going for. And it's going well so far. I had 4 people today, 4 appointments today, and they all went well.
Good for you, man. And like, how did you hear about this whole telehealth thing? And how did you were honestly probably the first business I would say in Peterborough that pivoted online. Like you just were 100%. Like literally, like I think on the Sunday, like I'm like, I heard that you guys were closed, or the Sunday to Monday, and then you're like, the next day you had telehealth up. So like, I want to commend Connor on the podcast because he's one of those people that like, it's like Neil was talking TikTok, and Connor was the first person to be like, okay, TikTok. And now, how many followers do you have on TikTok?
I think we have like 75,000 followers on TikTok.
Like just crazy.
I still feel like it's a joke, but
yeah, but it's like it's amazing. And like I think like you were a very early adopter even in the Instagram space. I think you guys are up over 30,000 followers on Instagram now. And like, you've really built
41.
Good for you, man. That's amazing. So tell me about the pivot. Like how did this like kind of work?
So I guess I kind of cheated a bit because I've been looking into telehealth since the fall, I would say, of last year.
I'm not surprised by that at all. I'm not surprised by that.
So probably in like October, November, I started looking into it a little bit more seriously and trying to figure out what the legalities of it in terms of the physiotherapy college were and things like that. Simply because as our Instagram account has grown significantly over the past year, like I just looked back and we on Instagram this time last year, so like February, March last year, we had 5,000 followers, and now we have like 41,000 followers. So that's a big jump in the year, obviously.
That's not paid, that's organic, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't have nothing paid. No, all organic. Wow. Yeah. So as we started to reach more people and people are appreciating the content that we're putting out, I've started to get a lot of DMs, just messages saying, I've got a physio locally in whatever town I'm in. I don't really have many options. I've seen them before. I don't like their approach. They don't really give me anything to do for myself, or in other cases, people that just aren't close to physios at all. They live in a rural area. They like what we put out online, and they've reached out and said, I trust what you guys are doing. I trust the information you're putting out and the approach you have. Would it be possible to set up some type of assessment via a video chat or something like that? So I had started to do a few kind of pro bono visits, just testing it with people. So that's been happening since, like I said, probably November, December. So then when this all happened, it just fast forwarded that whole process. But I feel like I was kind of a couple months ahead of some of the other clinics that had never even crossed their mind before last week. Mm-hmm. So that's, I think, how we made the switch so quickly. And literally, like you said, within 2 days, we had some appointments booked for our telehealth sessions.
Yeah, I just want to, I'm going to share the screen really quickly here because I want people to have a good understanding of what's happening, like what they're doing. So this is essentially their telehealth site, and it's like you have your online booking. So maybe take me through, like, so when they give their information, the first name, last name, phone number, it's literally just an add-on to your website. And then they request an assessment. So what happens after they request the assessment there?
So unfortunately, we just for our business, we laid off all of our staff just because that was going to be the only approach. We knew there wasn't going to be any in-person physio for some time.
Yeah.
So our only staff that's still on would be Megan, who's our clinic manager.
Okay.
And then Adam and myself, the two business partners, working often and hard. But essentially, when you fill out that form, or if someone filled out that form, an email goes directly to Megan, who would then schedule them into either my schedule or Adam's schedule, based on times that work for them, and maybe they've seen me before and they want to see me specifically, or they've seen Adam and vice versa. And then within a day, in theory, that person could be booked in my schedule. Like, we had someone fill that out yesterday, and then I saw them today. So it can be that quick, which is nice, because typically in physio, you're going to wait a couple of weeks just because everyone's so booked. Whereas right now, our schedules are wide open. So we can help you quickly.
Yeah, like Connor had built his business and literally doubled in size. He's located in the north end of Peterborough, and really accelerated growth. And a lot of that he attributed to social media. And, as Cody put it earlier, like he's always been an early adopter to this stuff and technology, and realizing being ahead of the curve and pivoting or beta testing beforehand, not being a fatalist that shit's going to happen like this, but just knowing that you have to be able to pivot quickly, given all different kinds of scenarios. Something else could have happened to his business, like a fire or something, and they would have had to move out. So Connor was ready to go with something like this. So kudos to you for doing that. We're always encouraging now more than ever in our hacks group, like, you have to pivot. You can't just follow the status quo in life when it comes to anything, or it's going to come back to bite you eventually. So walk us through now, what has it been like for you? Because it's still a big mental shift for you and your staff. You had to lay off staff, you said. How has it been sort of trying to keep the culture together, retention of clients, and what do you hope you'll go back to in a few months?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, the timelines are so uncertain right now. Our biggest thing is that we want to remain relevant in this time that our business is, I don't even like to say closed, because we are open for business. We're just not open at our full and usual capacity. Yeah. So while we're not fully functional, I've been taking even more time than I normally would to try to produce even better content, like higher level quality content. Whereas sometimes I just don't have as much time during a busy work day, and I'll just fire a post together pretty quickly. And sometimes those do well, but generally not always. Whereas now I can actually think out a process. So what I've done is we decided to put out just a home workout that people can do, whether they have no equipment at all, or they've got some resistance bands, or they've got a couple hand weights from the garage that they've dusted off, just because people aren't going to be in commercial gyms for a while. So at least they've got a resource that they already trust, that's putting out a workout option that they have on a daily basis. The other thing I've done is started doing Instagram lives. I know that's not unique. A lot of people are doing that right now, but I've never done one before. And then as of the last week and a bit, we've done 3, and they've all done quite well. I had a friend of mine, one of our physios, Leah, at the clinic. Her husband Matt is an emergency room physician at Peterborough Regional. So he was my guest last night on our Instagram live. And that had quite a good turnout, just people asking questions on the spot about how worried they should be, what symptoms, if I've got A, B, and C, should I call public health? So actually having an emergency room doctor on our live was pretty cool to get some, because there's so much crap out there right now with misinformation and just stuff that isn't science-based. So just having him go through some of those categories and questions and just squashing some of the garbage and putting out some real information was helpful. So those are some of the big things that we've done pretty quickly just to try to remain more relevant online.
It's been it's been incredible. You use the word relevant, and I commend you for that, because I think, we chatted about yesterday on the podcast. We had Kathleen Black. She's a real estate coach out of Toronto. And she said the same thing. It's like there's a few options that you have as a business owner right now. You can either curl up in the corner and cry, or you can, go sell Kleenex. Like it's like you have the option right now. So it's really cool to see how quickly you pivoted and how quickly the business has moved to the online space where you're still providing value. And you might find that this becomes even, as things progress, this becomes another revenue stream that when things get back to normal, that could be a totally another big revenue stream in the online space. So it's really cool to see how quickly you're pivoting. And I kind of want to shift gears to, I know that your wife is a nurse. She's Jennifer, correct?
Jen.
Yeah, Jen. So, you're going through a lot right now. We've been chatting a lot about, mental fortitude and resilience and how to get through uncertain economic times and how to get through uncertainty because there's so much panic that's happening in the world. And you always have seemed to be that person that has, perspective in life. So I'm really curious to know kind of, with your wife being on the front lines, your focus on the business with Adam, what are you doing on a daily basis in order to ensure that, you're showing up with strength and showing up with mental fortitude on a daily basis?
And I'll add, he's got 2 young kids.
Yeah.
Yes. I have a 3-year-old son and an 18-month-old daughter. My wife, Jen, is a nurse in the emergency room at our local hospital, PRHC. So she's one of the frontline fighters right now, fighting this thing head on. And they've done a really great job at the hospital, just trying to get prepared because they know it's coming. It's kind of the calm before the storm right now. So she's there working her regular hours and then getting called in for extra shifts. So she's been working hard. So for me, in terms of the business, I kind of use her off days. I'm just kind of working my schedule based on her schedule because I feel like her schedule is much more important than my schedule. Her schedule is literally, helping save people. Mine's at the end of the day, just a business, right? So, for example, today she's off, so I'm here at work by myself, but quote unquote, treating people online via this telehealth. And then this is when I'm doing just more learning. Like I just came off of another webinar about telehealth, and that was my second one this week, just learning different strategies and different ways to implement. So those are some of the things I'm doing. A big one for me is I just always need to try to include some type of activity in my day. So been getting out a lot with the kids when it's dad day for me. So we've been getting out on some long walks and hikes, and then I'm fortunate enough I've got a little home gym at home. So I've been doing some workouts every day and just trying to stay active that way. Because I think at the end of the day, this is something that no one could have predicted. So I'm trying to not be too hard on myself or, think, oh, we could have done this or that. It's like nobody knew this was coming. It wasn't a bad decision that we made that's put us, temporarily in a hard spot. It's just something that happened. So like you said, I could sit there and sulk about that, or I could try to work harder than I even normally do. And that's kind of the approach that I've taken.
I love that, man. And that's, I think me and Neil are taking the exact same approach. Last night on our kind of partners call, we're like, man, I feel like I'm working harder now than I did, 4 weeks ago. Cause you understand our, Nora, like our other business partner, said that this is feels almost like winter. It's like we're in winter, but the nice thing about winter is winter ends. And she said that really, profound, and it just hit with me. It was really profound about the idea that it's like, now is the time to put in the work, do the things, learn, like the telehealth things that you're doing, and just learn and grow and find this time in order to become better on the other side. So I love that you echo that. And it's amazing to see what you're doing in the online space, and just even from a personal perspective, what you're doing.
I think like a lot of what you mentioned earlier too is that This will just force us to get better online, which when we reopen our brick and mortar in-person physio, which we already are really comfortable with and we're confident in that product, this will boost our online skills significantly, so we can have that, like you mentioned, that other revenue source. Because at some point it would be nice to start seeing a bit of revenue for 2.5 years of work on Instagram, right? So we obviously get some in-person clients and patients who found us specifically from Instagram, but a lot of it's still just word of mouth locally, right? So if we could start to help some people that are around different parts of the province or country, even in theory, that would be cool as well in the long term.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool with the pivot. It's like you're taking a local business and you have the ability to really make it global.
Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, to some extent, that would be the long-term goal.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, and TikTok, were you shocked by what happened there?
Yeah, TikTok's an odd thing. It's a super fun app, and it is highly addicting. So I totally get why there's a lot of people that are just glued to it, because once you get into it, you're like, whoa, it's that was a half an hour of my life that I'll never have back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird because the nice thing about TikTok for me was that I didn't have to spend almost any time on it because I already had all the video content made from Instagram.
Leverage content, yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't even making. I've actually not, I don't think, made a real TikTok yet. Like, wow. In terms of like,
imagine if you made a real one.
I know, right?
Already have views on one post, right? That's
yeah. I think
is that your average now?
I looked because I knew you were gonna ask me, and yeah, our one post was like 12 million views.
12 million?
Yeah, a few weeks ago. Yeah. So it's a weird thing because I think it was just video content that we've already been making for Instagram that I already knew did well on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I wasn't seeing anything like that at all on TikTok. So I was like, I'm just going to put this out there and see how it does. Yeah. And then like my first post got like 900,000 views. I was like, that's crazy.
That was too easy.
Yeah. So
what are the legalities around telehealth? Like maybe you can kind of dive a little deeper for that. Like in regards to, can you technically sign up somebody from the United States and do, or even from Australia, and like essentially do like a 45-minute intro class? Like, because I'm thinking like my mind's spinning now as a business. So I'm like 12 million views. Imagine that 12 million views had a call to action, and you booked like 50 appointments from that
yeah,
in the online space.
So the legality of it is no, you can't do that.
Okay.
Because I'm as a physiotherapist, I'm a member of the College of Physiotherapists of Ontario.
Okay.
So that's the outer limits of my reach in terms of legally providing physio. So the person has to be a resident of Ontario.
Okay.
But there's still like, I don't know, like 10 million people or something that live in Ontario, maybe more than that. So it's still a lot of people, right?
Yeah,
it's
totally.
It's a lot more than the 100,000 in Peterborough for sure. And then there is some potential long-term that we may look into registering ourselves as strength and conditioning providers. So in that sense, you could do online training appointments, right? So it's at that point, you're not acting as a physiotherapist. You're essentially acting as an online personal trainer. So that could have some ability to spread beyond like the Ontario borders eventually.
Good for you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and I want to touch on again, I touched on earlier, Connor, but how are you navigating your staff through this? Because they must be going through uncertainty too. And, we've been going through that with our team. There's uncertainty in our world. Obviously clients' work is down for us too. We're trying to get through this, ride out the storm like everyone else is. How are you keeping them together? Are you doing Zoom calls? Are you texting, email? Like, walk me through as an entrepreneur what that's like for you on top of everything else you're dealing with.
Yeah, I mean that's been the most terrible part of this whole thing was I never thought there'd be a day where we had to lay off 14 people or 13 people of our 16 people all on the same day. So that was a pretty down day for Adam and I and just the whole staff in general. But from their standpoint, I think they understood that it was our only option. There's not going to be anyone coming in the door for a while, so it just makes the most sense for them to start going on EI and at least collecting some income that way. Yes, we just had a team meeting yesterday on Zoom, so we had all of us join in for a video chat on Zoom just to try to provide any information that we had, keep everyone up to date as much as possible, and then we started a Skype group as well, or not a Skype group, sorry, a WhatsApp group. Just for similar, just so that we're all in contact via our phones, and it just keeps everyone on the same page. So yeah, we feel awful about it, quite obviously, but at the same time, I think they're quite understanding that it wasn't our fault. It wasn't anything that we did wrong that made this happen. It just kind of happened to us. So we're just trying to keep everyone as in the loop as we can, and keeping everyone on the same page.
And I know you've always been prudent about cash flow and overhead and all those kind of things. And what I don't want to say what lesson this has taught you, because I mean, like I said, no one knew this was coming. But there's so many businesses that have to pay rent every month and can barely save enough cash flow for an average 19 to 30 days. A lot of small businesses. What would you say to entrepreneurs about having gone through this like you are, just to be, again, more prudent than ever about cash flow? Cash flow is king. And just give us some tips on that, your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't think we figured that one out yet. I think Megan, our business manager, our clinic manager, just said we literally now have to build in like pandemic planning into our business planning, right? And it sounds ridiculous, but it's actually true, because like, who's to say this doesn't happen again in 2022, right? Like, and the only difference would be we shouldn't be shocked by it next time, right? This time, nobody knew it was coming. The stock market didn't know it was coming. It's just been a massive shock to everyone. Yeah. But it's kind of like, fooled me once, fooled me twice, right? So next time we literally, I think we will just have to have more of a contingency plan saved. And we did a massive renovation about a year and a half ago, and we definitely could have, we could have saved a bit on that, but we wanted to go all out and make it beautiful and do it the best we could, which I'm still happy with that decision. But having an extra 20 or 30 grand in the bank right now would look pretty smart as well. So I think that will be the next time plan, would be to hopefully at least have cash flow for 3 months would be my goal, in case something like this ever happened again, that we would be able to maintain operations as much as close to usual as we could.
Yeah, you're right about the pandemic. Planning is a new reality. I mean, it's not enough. And the old reality was hard enough. And now you have to work that in the equation, because this very much could happen in waves, right? Is what they're saying. It could go away the first one, then come back next winter or sooner. And you might have to bring people back and then lay them off again. I mean, so you're right. She was only half kidding. It's true. We're going to have to work this. This is the new world order now. Wow, great advice on this. And I have to, Cody mentioned it earlier, I have to give a shout out again to all the, like your wife, frontline nurses and doctors and everyone at PRHC, who are just doing a wonderful job in the community, rallying behind them and getting them all these goods and necessities that they need, because we're early on with this. We don't know what's coming next, but we know it's only going to get worse before it gets better. That's the reality. We can't sugarcoat it. And, props to your wife and everyone there at PRHC, because they are putting their lives on the line, and she's saving lives. And like you said, you have great perspective on that yours is a business, and it's hard that you're going through this. Hers is lives. Saving lives comes before business any day. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way I've tried to think about it is, Obviously with her working on the front line, she's at a significantly increased risk of contracting COVID-19 than you or I would be, who are, mostly staying home and doing our social physical distancing. She's right there working with the people that are the sickest with it, right? And all of her colleagues are as well. So they're the real people that deserve the props right now. And I think it's, as long as our family is healthy from our, at home standpoint, that's our biggest number one concern right now. I'm confident that the business will bounce back. I'm confident that we've built up enough trust from the community and enough support from the community over the years that as people start to come out of their own financial hardships, they'll start looking back towards us for advice again and for help. And I know that's going to take a long time, but I think that's what's motivating me to work harder right now is I think, use that word again, the more relevant we are right now and the more that we stay kind of top of mind for people, the more helpful that will be in the long run.
I love that, man. Connor, really appreciate your time, man. Really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us and chat once again. Because like Neil said, lots changed since the last time you were on the podcast. And I feel like we felt like this was just precedented based on how quickly you shifted. I feel like this podcast is going to provide a lot of value to any business owner that is listening. And a lot of people are going through some really uncertain times. And my encouragement to anyone listening to this podcast is that you stay strong, you focus on the future, you forecast the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months, and you keep going. So thank you, Connor. Thank you, Neil, for stopping in for the podcast once again. And if you are a business owner listening to this podcast, you're looking to grow your business in the online space, love the opportunity to have you inside the StudioPTBO Marketing Hacks Group. It's full of entrepreneurs. Connor's in there as well, constantly providing value just around what to do in the online space, how you grow your business, how you grow your social presence in the online space, Facebook ad training, whatever you're looking for. We'd love to have you inside of there. It's an amazing community that is just really looking to support each other. And we're seeing a lot of people come together in this community right now. So I'd love to see you inside of the StudioPTBO Marketing Hacks Group. Thank you again once, Connor. Thank you again, Neil. Thanks for tuning into the StudioPTBO podcast. We'll see you soon.